welcome to episode 9 of The Mindalorian, the official Star Wars Minute podcast in which we go through the Mandalorian TV series one episode at a time. I'm Alex Robinson.
I'm Pete the Retailer.
And we are the co-hosts of the Star Wars Minute podcast here to talk about episode 9. What's the title of it? Do you remember?
It's The Marshal.
The Marshal, off to a great start.
Yeah, that made me think, is it going to be Holly or Will or
it must, especially when they started going in that cave and everything. You must have been.
I mean, it started out as a routine expedition, but
yeah. So we haven't done this in a while. Should we just do a brief recap first and then just do highlights, or go through in order? Or what do you think?
I think we usually go through more or less in order.
Okay.
I just wanted to start before it even starts with the kind of content warning for this is intense violence. So
yeah, I'd say that's accurate.
Yeah, intense violence.
All right, yeah. So we're back with our old friend the Mandalorian and his friend Baby Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts with him he's trying to track down more Mandalorians to help him find the baby's house, the baby's people.
Yeah. He's been tasked with, or he's been
quested.
What did he say? He's been quested?
Yeah.
Is that the proper usage of that?
Dude, you've been quested. Consider yourself quested.
With finding, basically, they set out, they lay out the initial kind of quite well. They just lay out the initial kind of drive of the show right away. It's like, all right, well,
yeah,
I got to find more of these.
Yeah,
and that's how I feel like it's a shopping metaphor for me. That it's always like, anytime you find one, like you find a pair of pants that you like or something like that, like I want to find more of these, and it's always a quest because it's never just like Old Navy doesn't make that anymore. What can you do?
That's true. It seems odd to me though. Like, why would you think more Mandalorians would be a better thing to help you find that? But I'm just like, who cares? It's just an excuse to set up the next part of the story,
Right. And it's a little bit, I get it. They're the ones he can rely on for information.
Yeah, I guess so.
Essentially, you know what I mean? Mainly the people he can trust, the network he can talk to. So if he can, he can get good info from the Mandalorians. So
yeah, so I'm willing to
right.
I'll let it pass by. But so first it opens up and he's on some planet we don't know. Do we know what it is, or is it just another?
Yeah, I didn't get a good
dirt hole
idea of
planet
where that was. I'm sure if we looked it up right now, we could find it on Wikipedia. But
I wish they would have things on the screen every time they move locations.
I hate location titles.
I kind of like it because it doesn't matter where they are. So
exactly, yeah, some planet.
Although it would be great if at the end it revealed Hoth. They're like, what?
After the Empire fell, the Empire was the one controlling the thermostat.
So, the Boba Fett. Well, now I guess we can't make that joke anymore. It's going to get complicated. So the Mandalorian. Mando is tracking down Miso because he is supposed to have information about the Mandalorians.
Is that what was that guy's name? What did you say? I know it was a Mayo or whatever the. I guess I need to have Wikipedia out here, right? If we're gonna do this.
Yeah, this is pretty much like
an Abyssin, of course.
Right. Yes.
An Abyssin, not Mayo, but a different one.
If it is Mayo, he looks great considering that this is,
right,
15 years after Star Wars or whatever. So I did not recognize the actor playing that part, and it's our old friend John Leguizamo playing the Miso. Miso? Mio? What is it again?
Well, it's an Abyssin.
Oh, Abyssin, right.
Abyssin.
Yeah.
Abyssinia.
Yeah.
It's Gor Koresh.
Gor Koresh.
Gor Koresh is Johnny Legs in this.
I did not recognize his voice.
Me either until the credits, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I like the conceit of as they're walking through. I like the glowing eyes. Just represent. It's such a simple effect done well.
Yeah.
It's like it's like a little stupid thing. You don't have to actually show it, and it makes it better, and it's a cool thing.
Yeah.
And just walking through that thing, the graffiti, kind of down the hallway, we see like a C-3PO graffiti and a C-3PO graffito. And
the Rodian.
And I think I saw a Watto graffito.
So Watto graffito? I
believe Watto graffito. But I could be wrong. But it was neat. I like the setting. And then they go. This is part of one of the things that we saw in the teaser footage.
It's the Gamorrean fight.
Yeah, fighting Gamorreans. That was my high school mascot, the fighting Gamorreans.
Go Pigs.
But yeah, an interesting thing. We get to see the. I can't tell if I love it or hate it, but I know I acknowledge like the vibro axes. I'm like, yeah, that's a thing, and I'm like, I'm happy that. Well, I'm happy for people who love that kind of a thing. I don't hate it.
Not COVID.
And and I think they did a decent job of representing something that seems difficult to represent visually. If that makes sense.
Mean the vibro axes? You mean?
Yeah.
I liked them in this context because it makes sense that if it's more like a sport, the same way like people who are throwing javelins aren't throwing like real spears, they're throwing things that are designed so as for sport. So it makes sense to me more as a sports piece of sports equipment than it does as a because why on earth, what good are axes in a world where everyone is armed with multiple guns? So it's
well, if that's your weapon of choice, that's just what you do.
You can go with this, you can go with that.
Yeah.
I did like the fact that they didn't. It looks like they just got beefy guys and put pig masks on them, as opposed to having full body, like the fat suit kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I really liked it a lot better. It made it seem a little bit more nightmarish, like like those old Halloween pictures from like the 19-teens, and everyone looks kind of like that's what it had, that weird kind of dreamlike quality to it, which I liked.
Right. Not. Yeah. Less bulky. Maybe it's just a statement on the guards at Jabba's palace. You know what I mean? They're
roided out.
Well, no, I think they're just tubbier because they're less.
Yeah.
They don't have to do as much. Not many people make it through the gate and get to
Yeah.
It's a cushy job, I think, being one of the door guards, the bouncers at Jabba's palace doors.
That's probably also why the Rancor went for them first, because he knows they're very fatty and they taste delicious. So those humans, they're all like stringy.
Yeah, once again, Gamorrean bacon. It's on my list.
Yes, and then he goes and we see Baby Yoda for the first time.
Right. One note about at the fight, one of the fight attendees seemed to be Constable Zuvio or a member of his.
It's I thought a similar thing. The Disney era loves those. In Rogue One, there was also a couple of guys who had those like broad hats like that. So I don't know if that's Zuvio or just that was the style at the time. Everyone loved those big hats. But let's say Zuvio just for
all right,
for continuity's sake. And so there's I was a little like one of the first times you see Baby Yoda, they do a cutesy little like and he covers himself up in the thing.
Well, he
and
hits
I was like,
the button on his own thing to cover the carriage, cover the floating pod.
Yeah, and that seemed a bit too cutesy for me, but I'll let it pass because it's Baby Yoda.
Is it a little bit too much like a dog covering their eyes when somebody gets hit in the groin?
Yeah, exactly.
In a broad family comedy. Gor Koresh sends him on his way to Tatooine. You make that face and I make the opposite face. I was like, oh,
really?
Good. Yeah, like
interesting.
I know it's for such a remote outer rim planet, it ends up getting a lot of action.
Yeah.
Especially in a little bit, we're going to learn that it's an even smaller world essentially. But I don't know. I like it's a little bit like a warm bath for me. I'm like, oh, good. Well,
yeah,
a little bit of Tatooine, as long as they don't kind of overdo it, and they tend not to. And that, spoiler alert that this ends up kind of. I feel like this episode ends up combining two of my favorite. It's like a mashup of two of my favorite episodes of season 1. It's a mashup of the one with the Jawas and the Suga, and the one with Toro Calican and Space Amy Sedaris, who we see again.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately, I think it also had a little bit of the let's help the villagers defeat the monster, which was our least favorite episode of the last season.
It did. It was almost like a remake. Like they knew the criticism of that, and it was like, well, let's remake that, but better.
Yeah, I agree. This one was better, and it's not like when they said Tatooine, I was like, oh boy, because I know they did a great job of it last time with the just enough balance of fan service versus whatever serving its own story. But so I was willing to cut him a break. But yes, so there he arrives. We do see Amy Sedaris again, and what was pretty much just like a one. I thought she didn't even really play any part in the story other than just this one little cameo.
Right, but I mean, I guess it's like he's going to see the people that he knows there. Yeah, and to get her back for a little cameo is kind of cool. But like, some of her dialogue was a little bit meh.
Oh, I mean, if I didn't know it was Amy Sedaris and love her going in, I'm sure I would not like her because it's such a weird, like a kind of like affected performance. But just hearing her say droids just makes me laugh. Like, oh, see, I like droids now. It's just so I'm willing to cut it some slack. So
I put a little like do not like mark for thank the Force.
Yeah, well, that's also weird, especially considering that now everyone knows about the Force again. This is like 5 years after like they were talking about that ancient religion that no one.
Yeah, and
especially on Tatooine where Luke lived. You think that would be the last. Luke
didn't know about the Force. Like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. Although who knows? Maybe once the Empire fell and everyone heard that it was a Jedi who did it, maybe it was like a big resurgence, and still have to be in the.
She's trying to be like cool with it. Although she's also way hipper than Luke because she was in, as she says herself, she's seen everything, a little bit of everything go through there. So she's more worldly than Farmer Luke.
Well, she also gives us a little interesting teaser about what life is like in the galaxy since the fall of the Empire. Like she's like, as soon as the Empire fell, that Tatooine basically became chaos, and so I think it's been taken over by religious zealots, and that's why she has to say, "Oh, thank the Force." That's like saying that's like the equivalent of wearing like a.
It's intentionally unnatural because it's kind of being put upon her.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. The fact that she didn't say it, although the Empire had fallen by that time anyway, too. So it's not like it fell. Yeah. So anyway.
Well.
And we get to see R5D4 as well.
Yeah. It's a good. I'm assuming it's R5D4. She does say R5, and we see him there.
Well, and he also has they specifically show the panel on the back of his head. Looks like it had been soldered closed after blowing up. It has to be
exactly.
Skippy.
Yeah, I believe so. So that makes me happy.
I wonder what crazy adventures. How did R5 get from being a broken down droid in the Jawa thing, which was quickly destroyed after that? He was destroyed by Obi-Wan Kenobi. So how did he?
Well, you
think Obi-Wan sold R5?
The Jawas were slaughtered, but the droids were left untouched, right?
Really?
In Star Wars, the motion picture, when they go back and they find that the droid,
we don't see any droids there, do we?
No, I mean, but they're all inside. It wasn't like a stop. It wasn't. They didn't set up shop. They got raided, and so I'm assuming the droids were either left in there or brought back to the Empire. So maybe
I think that one is more like. I feel like that's the one they're going to bring back any droids they find, just in case it's the one that has the data tapes in it.
Wasn't there a story about that in the certain point of view? Maybe I think.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
But also not canon. So
I don't know.
The stories contradict each other in this exact same book.
Is it canonically not canon though? But and then we get he Amy Sedaris points him out, sends him basically, brings out the map. R5D4 brings out the map. And it does make it seem like, it's a little bit eye-rolly that everything's so small and close together, but it's also like, well, this is the main, I'm assuming that like the Dune Sea is a large part of the planet. So like the Dune Sea, like open dunes where there's you can't even have a settlement.
It's just like the Sahara with emptiness.
Right. Or like a sea, like an ocean. That's why they call it the Dune Sea, because it's mostly, so most of the planet is uninhabitable desert.
Yeah.
And you've just got these small areas like islands, essentially, where things are solid enough. Maybe there's some bedrock way underneath that it's like, all right, the sand is solid enough here that you can have a settlement.
Well, or a water supply, probably.
Right. And so, well, if you got evaporators, it's not that much of a... Anyway.
Evaporators.
So the on this, let's call it a landmass, is why that's how you have Mos Espa and Mos Eisley, and you've got our new city, our new area of Tatooine, and it's called Mos. I wrote it down and then I don't have it. I have the Wikipedia now in front of me.
Algos, something like that. Well, I'll say this.
So it looks like people are actively editing this and adding Mos Pelgo. There you go.
Pelgo. Would it have been better or worse if it was a name we recognize from Tatooine, i.e. Anchorhead or even Tashi Station?
Worse. I like that if you're going to make a town to have your setting in, you're going to establish a new thing. Like if you're going to go to, they go to Mos Eisley, it's a spaceport. Great. If you're going to have this town that stuff has to happen in, make up a new one, and it's great. Yeah. So it's like it's the best of both worlds. It's world building, but also like, one foot in the familiar.
Right. Okay.
And so he goes to the bar, and they're like, all right, where's the guy that looks like me? And they're like, oh, you mean the Marshal?
You get to say Weequay bartender also.
Yeah, unidentified Weequay bartender.
Not unidentified until now, that is. We got to come up with a name for this guy.
I know.
Anyway, but he meets the Marshal.
The Marshal. But so they're like, right, where is it? It's the Marshal, and he comes in, and I love that. I really like his introduction. Like there's so many cliche Western things in this, like down to the fact that it's Timothy Olyphant who was in the Western thing.
He's in a bunch of Western things.
Yeah, he's like Mr. Western, Mr. New Western.
Yeah. He's like Sam Elliott.
He's the new Sam Elliott. Yeah. But I love that he, like, when he walks in and you see that he's wearing Boba Fett's armor, but like you can obviously, you're like, that's not Boba Fett. Like it fits him in a way that makes it like they made it obvious that it's like, oh, he's wearing Boba Fett's armor, but that's not really him. Like,
you can tell by his body, by his physique. Yeah.
Unless they did a bad job of it, but it's not. Like you know. I don't know. It works both ways. Either if you're like, wait a minute, is that Boba Fett? Why does he look terrible? Like they did a bad job of it, and then you get surprised, or it's like, oh, good, that's Boba Fett, but not, and you're instantly something's off, which is good. Good job.
Yeah, and I also like that it does give it a legitimate excuse for being on Tatooine, because as we're going to learn that it's Boba Fett is the Mandalorian that, or he's wearing Boba Fett's armor, and so that it's Boba Fett's armor is specifically tied to Tatooine because of the whole Rancor thing. So there's a reason why it's on Tatooine besides just like the Sarlacc.
Right.
Besides just like, hey, let's take a little trip down nostalgia lane.
And it's a good, like, and he comes in and you're like, wait a minute, that's not Boba Fett. And then he sits down and takes his helmet off, and you're like, it's not even a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And then he has a and it's good. At first I thought it was going to be kind of him fighting the fake Mandalorian, but they quickly kind of they set that up, and then it gets interrupted.
Yeah. Well, I like that it's like every Marvel superhero, whenever they meet another superhero for the first time, they have to fight each other.
Right. And then
they become friends.
Oh, wait, we have to team up.
Yeah.
Star Wars Team Up presents.
Yeah. Oh, that would be awesome. Do you think it would be would it be like Marvel Team Up where it was Spider-Man? Like, would it be Luke Skywalker and blank, or would it be two different people every time?
Yeah, I would assume I kind of want it to be maybe like Han Solo or somebody who travels around and would have more cause for. Luke's fairly, as much as I love Luke Skywalker, he's fairly kind of centralized and or like Lando, Han Solo, Lando. I'm trying to think of prequel people that it could be, like Obi-Wan Kenobi. That would be great.
Yeah, and also he spans the entire range. So
exactly.
Or R2D2. There you go. R2 was in every single one.
Wait. That would be Star Wars R2 in 1.
Star Wars minute.
So we get fake Boba is fake. I wrote, and then
Boba fake.
They're gonna
Fauxba Fett.
Oh, good one. And then you get a wait. Does he have a name? He does, right?
His name is Cobb Vanth.
Yeah,
Cobb Vanth.
Which sounds like it does. It sounds like very cowboyish.
Yeah, Cobb.
But like them getting interrupted by this thing where at first you're like, is it an earthquake? No.
Yeah.
Is it a
Is it one of those giant sandworms that we learned about in episode 9?
You mean the one that pops its head up out of the thing? And
No, the one, the snake. Remember they fight the snake in episode 9?
Oh, serpent.
Serpent? Yeah.
No, yeah, that all kinds of wondering what it was, and then it turns out we get a lot more information about the crate dragon, which we knew about. Which good and bad. I'm glad. Like it's neat to have it be a thing, and again, it's tied into it's digging into all these things that were kind of throwaways from, not throwaways as in they were discarded, but just kind of like one off. Like, oh, there's that skeleton. What's the skeleton? What's the deal with the skeleton? And we find out more about it. But my note for this from here on in is basically like, I guess they really thought Dune was going to come out in November, huh? Because it's very much like the if you walk without rhythm, you want to track the worm. Like there's a lot of I'm not sure that I like things swimming through sand.
I don't like it.
Yeah,
it just doesn't seem physically very plausible.
Yeah,
and especially the bigger that thing gets, like.
Right.
There'd be a giant crater in the, like it would destroy the whole geography. Oh, is that why they call it that?
Maybe that's where our term crater comes from, because this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
The hole left by a crate dragon is it?
Yeah. And also, it's like another generic CGI lizard thing, and I don't like big monsters like Godzilla fighting humans because the sense of scale is so ridiculous. That's like ants fighting a person. You know what I mean? So, like when they showed the native Tatooiners trying to pull it with ropes, and I'm like, it's like chipmunks trying to pull down like King Kong Bundy or something. Like, it's, the difference is that going to make?
I would also like to see that show, though.
Yeah, that
King
would
Kong
be,
Bundy versus the Chipmunks would be
Bundy and the Chipmunks.
Yeah.
But so I think the scale is just too big. I wish it had been a smaller scale, but I guess. This plot also does remind me a lot of that Jawa storyline too. So maybe they already feel that they did a big. They needed to bring up the size after already having fought a giant lizard.
I guess so. Yeah.
But
it's
So they're hanging out. They go. He brokers a deal with the local natives.
Yeah, which I love the kind of rehabilitation of the image. They have a good PR man, the native Tatooiners, because they're it turns out like in the original trilogy, and even in the especially in episode 2 in Attack of the Clones, right? Or is it Revenge of the Sith?
Yeah.
Attack of the Clones, where it's,
1 and 2 both have anti-native.
Yeah, they're in George Lucas's mind, they're just horrible creature, horrible monsters. But then it's like, oh well, like I think it's the people taking over who like. Well, this is the action figure that I had, so I had to do stories with it. So they learned how to do how to make sympathetic native Tatooiners, and so we get we get good stories with them in this show, which I like.
I will say was delighted to see Banthay.
Yeah,
and
I love the close up of the banthas, like the way they were done. Like that's all good.
I thought that was fantastic. I don't like the fact that the native Tatooiners were a big part of the story.
Really?
I think it's one of those things where the more you learn about something, the less interesting it becomes. Like, I don't want to see them loading up boxes and doing mundane things. Like I don't know. It just seemed like it takes away the mystery. You know what I mean?
But not in like I'm really glad we didn't go too far into their culture. Mm-hmm. That's the thing, because I do like. I agree with you on that, but I feel like this was just, neither the town nor the natives were
true.
We didn't go too deep into any of their stuff. It's just like, they just came together to do this thing.
Here was my real primary objective. Okay. Listening to 15 minutes of them negotiating and talking to each other, and that it was like the Star Wars holiday special.
Exactly.
Like listening to just like, oh my God, one of these things. I was totally sympathizing with Cobb Vanth, because I was like, please tell these things to shut up for 2 minutes. So, because first I thought they only talked in like a sign language. Remember when you met them last season, they spoke in like gestures.
That's their main thing, yeah. But
now he's got a bunch of chatterboxes over there. Won't shut up about stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that was really the reason. I like the attention to detail, like the fact that they go in single file when they're walking. Yeah, that was a nice little tidbit.
Yeah, when they show up to the town. It's a good like we said, it's a little bit, it's reminiscent of Let's Help the Village, but it's done I think better, and we don't have the two parts teaming up, which is nice.
Yeah,
we didn't get that, and we do spend more. I felt a lot more sympathetic towards the natives, the native Tatooiners, than I did to the villagers, who all seemed kind of like obnoxious.
Yeah.
Except for the bartender. I like the bartender.
Mm-hmm.
So they go out to scope it out, and they're out to visit, and the titular Mandalorian has the speeder bike that he got from Space Amy Sedaris. Mm-hmm. Not a swoop, it's a speeder bike. There is a difference, I guess, right? And then the Fauxba Fett is wearing. He's riding what looks like something is made out of the engine from Anakin's pod racer. I'm assuming that was just a style of engine that was available. But
not in Star Wars. It has to be Anakin's.
Well,
that's
Anakin's. It's a little bit like, all right, well, if this is remote enough, you would expect to see kind of the parts of stuff keep popping up all over the place, Yeah. And I don't hate it, but but I do like that look and feel, the sounds of it and the look of it.
Do you think the Boonta Eve Classic is always held on Tatooine, or is it like the Olympics where it goes to different places all the time?
Oh, maybe. Well, that would be an interesting, that's another part of the documentary that I would like to see, is the the fact after the Hutts spent so much money to kind of accommodate the Boonta Eve Classic, and then the kind of the vacuum, once they're done, they've got the stadium that they can't do anything with, and all the economic repercussions of hosting the Boonta Eve Classic.
Because it really is like real life, how all these
right, yeah,
a lot of times like little dictatorships get to host the Olympics just because they are so. I like that idea.
Right.
And then also rewinding for 1 second, where she says, "Oh, after the Empire fell, blah blah blah." So that does say that at that point, at one point at least, the Empire had direct control over Tatooine, whereas it wasn't in the Republic,
Right.
So at some point they expanded to take over Tatooine.
Well,
that they were the law force there, because when they left, chaos ensued. So,
well, I'm assuming it was between, because they seem to have a fairly strong presence during the motion picture, during regular Star Wars. It's just in the prequels they don't care that much. And then maybe once Darth Vader takes control, he's like, let's get some people over in my hometown.
I always thought that it's possible that in episode 4 that was sort of the equivalent of Nixon sending troops into Like they made a deal with the Hutts. Hey, we need to get somebody out of there. Can we just send in some stormtroopers to get somebody?
Right.
And then they're like, sure, yeah, we'll make a deal with you or whatever. As opposed to the Empire running the entire planet.
Right.
But, we don't really have any.
But once they're there, they're not going to leave. I think that's the other thing too. So I think
but like, is it worth like investing troops on Tatooine?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know.
We'll have to learn more.
Well, that's another good thing that between Space Amy Sedaris' stuff and the kind of flashback sequence that we get from Fauxba Fett.
Yeah.
Sheriff, what's his name?
Cobb Salad.
Bob Salad.
Cobb Vanth.
Cobb Vanth. It's not Coy and Vance. It's Cobb Vanth. Yeah, it's a good, like, we get his little flashback also kind of detailing, like, they're all watching the hologram of, the second Death Star. And especially, I love it when he says, like, after the Death Star blew up, the second one, that is. Like, he's, I like seeing, again, obviously, something we've talked about a lot. I like seeing the real-world repercussions of a lot of this stuff happening.
Yeah.
And so them watching that happening, watching that happen here in this backwater or whatever, and then getting excited, and then of course the mining guild takes over. Was the mining guild? What did he say? The mining.
Oh yeah, I don't think it was the guild. Something else, yeah.
Yeah. But these miners kind of take over. I didn't love the miners. They're
Menace.
They're a little not Star Trek-y, but something else. They're a little kind of like, they were a little low budget sci-fi for me, the mining police or whatever.
Yeah, they were barely in it.
And yeah, I mean, you could have told that story just with words. I know show don't tell, but you could have just you didn't need to have them actually show up in there. But then you did want to have the cool, like, again, this, in addition to, as we've said a lot, the whole show is like, playing with Star Wars toys on the writ large on the well, not on the big screen, but
Mm-hmm. Sometimes big screens, depending on how big your home setup is.
But the show does a great job of, and I guess we'll dig into this more in a minute, of fulfilling the promise of Boba Fett being cool without actually using Boba Fett for the most part. Like all the stuff, all the Mandalorian stuff that we do, we see him using it in a way that, like, only, not since the holiday special has Boba Fett been so cool.
Yeah.
And so getting to see, this space sheriff use the rocket launcher and all the other stuff, like, it's a cool use of that you want to have that pay off. So that's why you're flashing back to that, I guess, because you want to have it. I do not like that in order to use the rocket launcher, he has to, like, kind of bend over. I feel like once you lock on with your little, like, boop, boop, boop space thing, it should just launch off your back and hit the target. But I don't like that.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it should like a tracer kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's George Lucas did that, so you can't.
Right.
You can't.
Wait, did he?
In episode 2, Django shoots his.
But he has to bend over to do it.
Yeah. He's like climbing up on something, and he like leans down to do it.
Why don't I remember that?
Yeah, probably because you blocked it.
Why don't I remember that part of Attack of the Clones?
Well, speaking of which, though, I do like and I don't know if it counts as a tribute or a wink or an Easter egg, but when the Mandalorian is talking to Cobb and says, like, he comes up with this plan and says, "You take care of Baby Yoda," like as if he's not going to come back. And then he, like, jostles his jetpack and sends him flying off against his will, which is, of course, I guess, a flaw of that particular armor system.
You can just bonk it and you can Fonzie it and into launching you into the sky.
Yeah, so I like that part of it.
Yeah. Boba's jetpack launching via smack is canonical, and so they get going. They team up. They realize that the town and the natives have got to team up.
They're part of a symbiont circle. They must see that
exactly.
By now. Mm-hmm.
And as they're packing, I wrote another thing that seems, again, it seems kind of like playing with Star Wars toys is the using the gaffy stick as a dental tool. We get that one shot of the native Tatooiner like picking the bantha's teeth with that, because that thing is totally looks like a dentist pick.
That would explain what happened, what it's for.
Yeah,
that end is for. I also like that they had those little like cannon things set up, and their big arrows looked like gaffy stick.
Yeah,
four blades on it, like a gaffy stick. It's nice little.
And they made a good deal that they want. Obviously, they just want the resources. They want all the meat and the ichor.
I looked up what that was.
I love that like to throw that in there. I feel like a couple of other things they like even backing up. Space Sheriff doesn't say nature abhors a vacuum. He's like, nature doesn't like a vacuum or something like that. He says, or power doesn't like a vacuum or something like that. But I actually had the thought, I was like, I guess you don't want to say abhor because then you have to explain it or something. But then he goes and says ichor a couple minutes later, and I was like, oh, all right, well, that's where we're at.
Yeah, so in case you didn't look it up at home and you don't know, I didn't know, apparently the ichor, the definition is fluid that flows like blood in the veins of the gods.
Yes.
So I guess it's revered as like, it is kind of a lot like the Jawas wanting the Suga thing.
Yeah.
Especially when they lift up that pearl that's inside the...
that was kind of I don't know.
Well, apparently...
Do you have information on the pearl?
I do have information on the pearl.
Excellent.
Apparently, in the old Knights of the Old Republic game, there's a scene where you fight a Krayt Dragon and you have to get something. Is a lot of the things they do in that scene, like people who know the video game Knights of the Old Republic were like, "Oh, look, they have that thing there." So it's catering to a different fan base than us, but that's what the pearl was.
As we all know, I played Knights of the Old Republic, but I kept getting stuck playing Pazak. So I never made it past the Pazak scenes, because every time I made any forward progress, it would be like, want to play Pazak? And I'd just be stuck for days. So,
yeah, apparently using the bantha as bait, and also the pearl is both part of the game. But
that's cool.
I did like that gag where they had the bantha out there,
right?
And then the worm comes out, and you think it's going to eat the bantha, but it eats the guy instead. The problem with a creature that big is, for me, it raises too many questions. Like, what on earth could it survive on? Like, if it's eating tiny little, like...
Well, yeah, I mean, it's got herds of bantha that go by. We saw it ate a sarlacc.
Yeah.
They say. I'm assuming there are enough things kind of walking through that it can eat, and it's probably got an effective...
I just can't see there be the planet supporting more than, like, 4 of these things.
Right. Well, it's a big planet. Or maybe it's not. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there's always a bigger planet. I know that much. So then they kill the dragon.
Right. They slay the dragon.
And they get to bathe in the ichor. It looks like they get to take home a big slab of meat. Yeah. I wonder what Krayt meat tastes like.
It's great. They didn't. There was a little bit where like Baby Yoda was kind of like looking at the meat and trying to figure out. I don't know. I couldn't tell what he thought of it.
Yeah.
Was he?
He said, "How did it get so big eating food of this kind?"
Well, was he upset about that? Was he into it? Like, was he hungry? I don't know, but.
Yeah, I think I was surprised, and kind of pleased how little Baby Yoda. He was really just
little
an
Baby
observer.
Yoda.
He never used the Force or anything like that to interfere with the story, which I like.
I thought he was going to interfere with the Gamorrean fight in the beginning when they made a bet. Where the Johnny Legs was just like, "I'll bet you that your armor against my information," and I was like, "Oh, Baby Yoda's going to change the outcome of the fight," but no.
Yeah, they had some restraint, which I thought was good.
Yeah,
I feel one thing I was aware of, and I guess maybe from the last season it came up, which is that like. He is basically teaching Baby Yoda whether he's intending to or not, by exposing Baby Yoda to this. So when Baby Yoda was watching the aggression and the fight, I thought it was good. Remember last time that happened, he got all like dark side of the Forcey. So I tried to choke the girl. What's her name? Or no, who was it? She tried to choke somebody.
Right.
Because the Baby Yoda thought that somebody was going to try to kill Mando, and so
right,
or something like that. Yeah.
Speaking of choking,
so that's why. Oh, good. Yes, go ahead.
No, I thought that maybe now that we have the armor as a consistent thing, I thought maybe they were going to make some kind of the Boba Fett's rocket was going to choke the dragon or something like that. Somehow we have to involve Boba Fett's rocket choking somebody.
That was on Twitter. I made that prediction that this season Boba Fett would fight.
So we might get there yet.
Yeah.
But
speaking of which, then he leaves and we see Boba Fett. Boba Fett
where? So he leaves with the armor, and we see somebody kind of watching him go, and then he turns around, and I was like pretty sure, but then I had to wait until the closing credits, in order of appearance, and it was like, oh, Temuera Morrison. I was like, great.
Yeah, I'm happy about that. As I mentioned, I'm always happy when they incorporate prequel stuff into it. What?
I guess so. On a technicality, yes, that'll be a prequel thing. You mean the actor? Yes, was only a prequel.
Yeah,
actor, but he wasn't. He never played Boba Fett in the prequels. He played Jango Fett. So,
right, but Boba Fett has.
Yes, on a technicality, I will allow that as a prequel thing. But
an actor who was in the prequels appearing as that character. Yeah, I'd say that.
Not as that character. That's the thing. He was never true. Boba Fett in the prequels.
That's right. He's the son of that character.
I object. But yes, once he shows up, we all know that he is. That's who we're looking at. We got Boba Fett, assuming he's not just a clone trooper, also chasing after the armor.
I think he'd be too old because the clone troopers age.
Oh, right, because of
their faster,
the rapid aging thing.
Yeah,
well, we'll see.
But anyway, who knows? But yeah, I'm assuming. I think he's credited as Boba Fett in the thing. So
no, it's just in Temuera Morris. Oh, I don't know. In the
IMDb, it does say Boba Fett.
Okay.
So
all right.
So
I'll allow it.
And actually, you know what? He did play Boba Fett in the Empire Strikes Back special edition.
Not a prequel. So
yeah, point in your favor. So how do you feel about? I'm assuming Boba Fett is going to be like a character throughout the rest of the series. Like he's going to be.
Well, first of all, I like. So then, points to all the people who said maybe that remember the mysterious glove that found after the Tora Calican episode. At the end of that, there was that mysterious somebody is here and looking at this. But we never really found out who that was. So by the end of the season, we're like, oh, maybe that was bugging out. But turns out that was probably Boba Fett because it was on Tatooine also.
Mm-hmm.
And so to have Boba Fett, I'm hoping that he'll be more of a kind of like the way he is here. He'll be a kind of following around. He won't be like central until maybe the end of the season, if maybe not even in the season at all. Maybe the very end of the season it'll be like, and Boba Fett.
I think the fact that they introduced his armor as a plot device makes me think he'll play a bigger part. But you're right, it could happen.
Well, I think he'll play a part, but it'll be like his armor will play a bigger part than he will. I think he'll be kind of background, kind of following him maybe.
Yeah.
All of this will be completely like next episode is just going to be all Boba Fett. Now that I'm saying, I'm like, it'll be background throughout. It'll be a thread. Then next episode, he's just going to show up and be like, all right, give me the Alma.
So I did like that. We didn't see. I thought we were going to see how. I'm glad that Cobb did not get his armor directly from Boba Fett.
Yes.
That we didn't see how it got from inside the Sarlacc belly into the Jawa's hands. So I like that.
It'd be interesting to see how. Yes, exactly. Like that. Although I don't necessarily need that story to be told as part of this show.
No, I don't. I don't want it to be told. Period.
Right. But I do like the. Again, I have no problem with canonically, this is our first inkling of Boba Fett surviving the Sarlacc pit, I'm assuming, unless something has popped up in new canon EU that I'm not aware of. But I don't think Boba Fett officially survived the Sarlacc pit until this moment. So,
I don't think it was depicted, or it was. I think George Lucas said, yes, that's what happened, but I don't think there was ever. But like you said, maybe in Clone Wars or Rebels, although all that stuff's before, so I don't know how they could have done it.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Maybe through that magic time mirror or whatever.
It looms like a shadow over everything we've built.
Speaking of which, did you at any point think, before he introduced himself as Lee J. Cobb or whatever, did you think that Space Sheriff was Jodo Cast? Did that thought run through your head?
No.
Okay.
Jodo Cast is from the Marvel comics.
He's like the fake Boba Fett. So after, basically, like, in order to explain some Boba Fett stuff they didn't like, I think they invented the guy who was pretending to be Boba Fett for a while.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't think it was him. I guess it could have been, but I was like, they'd probably just start over with a new guy rather than...
Right.
But
which they did.
Let's see. I had a couple of other notes. I don't like seeing humans riding banthas.
No? Okay.
No. I only like native Tatooiners riding banthas. And I know they are sacred animals to them, so I really don't like seeing humans like just using them as pack animals. So.
Right. But this is, for the greater good, in service of a cause, it's allowed. But you don't like it. I get it.
Well, but they show like in the town, there's just banthas there tied up and just kind of hanging out. So,
But you think they're not probably not riding them? Were they riding them? No, not before the. They probably don't ride them. They just use them for milk and stuff, milk and fur.
Well, we know banthas are known around the galaxy because there's bantha milk and bantha burgers, and so they must be more than just the native Tatooiners.
Right.
I like when the Mandalorian says, wherever I go, he goes, quoting the old My Buddy commercial. Do you remember those commercials?
Sure.
That doll, My Buddy.
Yeah.
And he would say, wherever he goes, I go. I like the thing about you will not die by my hand.
And then,
because of course, like if someone is giving you assurances like that are that specific, they're planning on screwing you over.
Although it does,
I won't kill you today.
I like it because it also fits with his kind of very choppy medieval sounding dialogue, like his fantasy dialogue. Like this, that is completely in line with the way that he talks about things. I have been quested with finding more of this creature's kind or something like that. And like, you will not die by my hand. Like, oh, he's just being medieval,
Yeah.
He's just being all flowery fantasy about it. Yeah. But no, it's a trick,
Oh, so did you think he was being, because I thought as soon as he said it, I knew that guy was going to get killed.
I knew too, but I'm in Cyclops Johnny Legs' defense. It's like, oh, he's probably just talking that way because that's how he talks.
Do you think, I couldn't tell whether it was John Leguizamo actually doing the physicality or whether he just dubbed in the voice? Because it looked like it was one of those masks like the Ugnaught guy where it was just kind of like...
That's what I think. They probably
the physicality didn't seem like him.
Right. That's why I think he was probably on set to do the face movements, like the Ugnaughty setup. Yeah. But probably not. They probably have people trained in kind of creature acting to do that kind of a thing. It takes a village to be a Cyclops.
To be a Abyssine.
Abyssine.
And so the penultimate thing I had was that at one point Amy Sedaris says, oh, if that thing buds or has babies or whatever, she wanted to buy one off of him. And that got me thinking about the status re slavery in like she's basically saying, I'm going to buy that living sentient. Well, I guess they don't even know if it's sent.
Right.
They don't know so it made me think that in the Star Wars universe where the line between like sentient creature and animal can be kind of like
iffy.
It seems like it would be easier to justify slavery because you could be like, well, they're not enough like us Rhodians. They're kind of lower on the chain. They're more like a Jawa, like.
Right.
So anyway, that was it. Just that there must be a lot of those Measure of Man cases where sentient creatures are having to prove that they have the right not to be used as pack animals or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as far as she knows, it's not. She probably looks at it more like a cat or something. Because it doesn't talk. It doesn't seem to have much.
Yeah.
Although she did spend time with it, she could probably tell it's a little bit more.
Oh yeah, you would think so.
Yeah. Although maybe people have chimps and stuff as pets, so maybe it's. She just thinks it's like a really cute chimp,
And like a chimp, it's something that's cute when it's young, but then once it gets older and it gets a lot more strong, you got to be careful because it'll pull your face off. And my last note is, I thought Timmy the Elephant would make a good Han Solo. And I said that, and I wrote it down in my notes, and then right after that is when he went. When they were having the duel and the shaking happened, and he put up his finger like, hold on a second, which I thought was I loved that bit because it was kind of like, okay, we know we're going to kill each other, but we got to at least wait till this thing is done. Yeah.
It's like kids playing like, okay, but time out.
Yeah, exactly.
We're like, car. Okay.
Yeah. Everyone backs off. Yeah. So, there you go.
Yeah.
So, what you want to give it a rating?
I forgot. Were we giving these, like...
Well, second season, pick you can set the new scale.
Is it just a thumbs up, thumbs down? Were we giving them grade ratings? I don't remember. I like this one a lot because it combines, like as I said, it combined two of my favorite episodes.
Yeah. Let's go with letter grades.
And it kind of, in a way, redid an episode that I didn't really care for as much from season 1. So doing a new version of that, but with the trappings of things that I did like. So so far I'll say this is absolutely my favorite episode of this season.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, it's
bold statement from Pete. I also liked it. I'm going to go ahead and give it a B+. I would have to mark it down only because I really got sick of all that native Tatooiner jibber jabber after a few minutes.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what also drove me crazy is they didn't sound like the same type of native Tatooiners that we heard in the other. They sounded much more like that they're just
they're not. Luke's the ones that we've seen talking to Luke, assaulting Luke. They're shouting, and they're from a different part. This
Get off my land. That's what he's saying in native Tatooiner.
But this is a different tribe, presumably from a slightly different. These are the ones that are more local to what is it? Mos Gomar? Mos Pelgo.
Pelgo.
Wherever he goes, Pelgo.
Do you think that's a Pablo Hidalgo nod?
Maybe. I mean, if it was Palgo, I'd say yes, but it's Pelgo.
Yeah, that's true. There's no E in the middle of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably his son, Pete Hidalgo.
That's there you go.
That's Peter Hidalgo. Episode 1, off to a good start. We both seem to agree.
Episode 9. It's 9. It's episode 1 of season 2, but episode 9. It did say chapter 9 when it popped up. So
you are correct, sir.
I don't know what do we go by? I'm calling this season 2 episode 1 when I post it on the thing. So I guess we can just...
I'm going to say it is episode 1, but the name of episode 1 is episode 9.
Chapter 9. Episode 1, chapter 9. Season 2, episode 1, chapter 9, The Marshal.
Yeah,
how many colons can we jam in there?
Whoa, hey now. Sorry, one last thing. I like where he's talking to Johnny Legs and he's like, "Where's the Mandalorian?" And he says, "Tatooine. He's on the Mandalorian's on Tatooine." It sounded like Princess Leia saying Dantooine. He's on Dantooine. So
and then it's a weird we also didn't mention, I don't know if have we seen a dark kind of brown skinned Twi'lek before?
No,
I liked that character. Anyway. I mean, probably in something there's been one, but I like, again, introducing the variety of things that are kind of familiar, but a variety of that. It's a good 1 foot in the familiar. That's my mantra for. I'm going to tape that up on the wall for Mandalorian, one foot in the familiar.
All right. Well,
and I also want to, in the off chance, I feel like a lot of stuff that we talk about, I don't know. I'm going to put this out there just in case. So in case anybody's listening who can directly affect the actual on-screen product of The Mandalorian, in case anybody hears this who's involved with The Mandalorian, let's get some Feltapern up in here, huh? I feel like we need a Godel or two to really tickle my fancy. So
now, do you specifically want Feltapern, or can it be any Godel?
Feltapern would be, pretty old, but
we don't know how old they live. How will you? Maybe you do know how old.
I don't know off the top of my head how long they live, but although I think he does get, if the Night Lily, the Lover's Tale, is canonical, he does get killed, I believe, in that. And we know it's not canonical, but everything's canonical until proven otherwise. So
yeah,
I guess I don't want to see him, but I would like I would like a Godel accountant to pop up in here. So
maybe a part of the same family, son of Feltapern.
Right, Feltapern Jr.
My request, as long as we're putting in requests, is I want to see an Ithorian, a Hammerhead, and I want to see them wearing the classic blue tunic. I want to see them walking around, and I want to see the classic, like, as a character, not just like a puppet in the background.
Right. So what if they go to like if they stop in at like a dance studio or like a gymnastics class on Tatooine, and then that's when you see an Ithorian in a little blue jerkin because he's doing,
I especially like that because we can work in a reference to the gymnasts from the holiday special as well.
Oh, of course. There you go. Now you got me.
Maybe the Ithorian is like, Hammerhead is like the Richard Simmons training a bunch of like people to,
Although I like the idea of a Hammerhead being athletic makes me think of a sports Ithorian, which is my favorite sporting goods chain in the Star Wars universe.
Yes. Yeah. So, hey, we also do another podcast called Star Wars Minute, where we go through the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time, everything from Star Wars: A New Hope all the way through. We're about to start The Last Jedi.
Once we're done with this.
Yes. I mean, in the geological sense, we're about to start The Last Jedi. But you can find that wherever podcasts are downloadable, or go to StarWarsMinute.com.
We're always there.
Yeah. Anything else we need to tell the nice people, Pete?
No, I just I got to say I wasn't super excited before this season started. I mean, I was excited to do our show, but to actually watch The Mandalorian, I was like, yeah, it'll be fun. I wasn't like, oh my God, I can't wait for the new Mandalorian. Yeah. But now watching this episode, I'm like, I can't wait for next week's episode. I like having a weekly Star Wars show pop up. So
yeah,
so thumbs up to this. I'm excited.
Yeah. Season 2 off to a great start, and we will see you guys next week on another brand new Mindalorian.
The Mindalorian.
And we still have to work out our closing theme.
Yeah, I guess.